Lee from DFW, CEO and President of NPAC Group, and he's been in that position for 10 years. Let's give it up for Professor Jeffrey.
It brings two countries together, brothers and sisters. I had an opportunity to spend some time in Africa, and so I went to Uganda, I've been to Tanzania, South Africa, as well as Kenya. And so I've not had an opportunity to go to the Democratic Republic of the Congo, but I can tell you that I look forward to one day working very closely with the continent and helping develop. My particular part today is looking at local municipalities as well as county government. And so there are some things that Dr. Kasanga had mentioned with respect to our political system, which evolved over time. And I think one of the things that we talked about the Declaration of Independence. That's a liberal document. That's what gives us the freedom to do a lot of particular things with respect to the creativity that we have in our country, ideas that we have without restraint from government intervention. There also, that we evolved from that, is our Constitution. That is a conservative document that basically tells us how far it has limitations. And I think this part is more conservative because it tells us what we cannot do, and when government is oppressed or when government is out of control. And these are what citizens do in respect to making sure that our government is in check. And the last one is the Bill of Rights. That is a little bit where it gives us an opportunity to say individually what you can, even though you may share a kinship with Africa, or we may share a kinship in this country, but there's also individually as citizens we have, and sometimes they're interchangeable. But I appreciate Dr. Kasanga for at least introducing the Declaration of Independence. Now, in our particular society, we have our congressional level, and our congressional level is basically three components. One is the federal system of government, the second is a state, and then the last one is the local system of government. It's a federalistic system. There are basically, without going into a total detail, there are different levels of government that's across the globe. One is a federalist system, which we have, which basically means we have levels. The federal government is a central part of where a lot of money, a lot of policies filter in, and it's in Washington, D.C. And then our next level, which is in Austin, which is our state, and then our local is the cities that we have. In this particular lecture, I'll be dealing with, I'll talk about our local, I'll mention a little bit about our federal, and then I'll conclude with our county, city, county, and city level. Other countries have what we call a unitary system of government. Basically, the government does everything. If you've not been to our country, or you're trying to kind of get it, you don't call the Congress people for potholes in the street, take out, if you don't get the trash taken out. It's okay, you can laugh about that, because there are some Americans that, believe that government does it all. Police department, I think we'll have a good friend of mine, I got a chance to meet, I think I can say that Sergeant Pewitt is in the audience, and he's coming in and he's going to talk about what the responsibility is to law enforcement and how we interact with them. But when there are problems with law enforcement, you usually don't call the mayor's office. There are levels of government that we have. Just same thing that if there are immigration issues, you're not going to call the county commissioner, you're not going to call the city councilman or alderman, you're not going to call, the school board. In our system, though, we do have levels. But in this particular case, when there are immigration issues, or when there are questions that you have that has to be at the federal level, then you'll usually either contact, in this district, we'll contact either Congressman Joe Barton, who is a Republican. Now, Joe Barton has been been elected since 1984. So he kind of knows, he sits on various chambers, various committees in Washington, D.C. He has an office that's up the street from here, and he has different offices that that ranges from a couple of them in Washington, D.C., to Arlington, to parts of Ellis County, to Waxahachie, but he has used several. He's been in this region for quite some time. The next one that just newly elected is Congressman Mark Vesey. Congressman Vesey was elected back in 2012. He just got re-elected. He's a junior councilman. He is a Democrat, and so they are a political party. Hopefully that one of the things that you get an opportunity to, because I think there's some things that I get a chance to see that Congressman Vesey is doing with respect to jobs and informing individuals on what's happening in our society. Congressman Vesey has been pretty good about trying to get out there, as well as Congressman Barton. But these are just political parties. In our society, we have multiple political parties, but the two majors have been a Republican Party and a Democratic Party. And so hopefully you'll get a chance to read a little bit about what makes them different. There are differences to be a registered Republican and to be a registered Democrat. There are some of them are similar, but for the most part, I would encourage that if you be active, that I would hope that Washington talked about, George Washington, founder of one of the framers and founders of our country, talked about political parties. They can be what we call baneful, not good, because you can be more politically astute than you are American. And there's an American identity that we have, it's not a political identity. Sometimes it's politicized. But Congressman Joe Barton and Congressman Mark Vesey. What are their jobs? Everyone has a responsibility at their level. My responsibility today is to articulate various levels of government, and hopefully I will outline that very clearly for you. And so, but there's the power of the purse. Basically, that's what a congressman does. They determine who gets what at the federal level. Sometimes their powers have been expanded. That's not the first time in our history, but sometimes their powers have been expanded and they do a lot of things. But for the most part, they don't have a lot of power, but they do have power over our fiduciary, our money. The oversight on our bureaucracy, because Washington, in the old days, what we called back in the 17th century, 18th century, it's a labyrinth, a humongous beast with many tentacles. And it's large, and it has levels that need to be funded a lot of times, and so a lot of times it can get out of control. But it's a bureaucratic system, and so they look at those particular things. So if there's corruption in the Supreme Court, they can either fund or defund it. In the Department of Justice, they can either fund or not. Look and investigate that. They can look at their own offices, as well as the executive officer, which is the President of the United States. They also do advice, and they look at, in the Congress, they represent the total Congress. There are 435 members that come from all across the country that represent the House of Representatives. In the House of the Senate, there are 50 that comes from an old classic Athenian and Greek philosophy, which looks at the Senate. And so our society was, sometimes as African American, we want to go back to Kemet. We want to go back to Egypt. And I know the history of Egypt. I know the history of Africa. But when our society was set up, we went to classic Rome. We went to classic Greek, because the founders of our country went to a more fundamental understanding of how they would want our society to be. And so we are the children of Africa. We are the children of Greek philosophy. We are the children of Roman and Christian and Muslim. We are the children, the descendants of a philosophical principle that have taken about 400 years to evolve to where we are today. Yet we are confused. But yet we do understand sometimes when we access fundamental rights in our society. And so sometimes we need Africans or immigrants to come into our society and remind us what we used to be about 200 years ago. We've just evolved. We have forgotten what made us what we are today. America is not a country. America is a philosophy. They have grown. We are 200 years from a process of how great we can be. And we have forgotten. Other powers that we have is a that Congressmen have is a confirmation of presidential appointments. To be able to be an advisor to the President of the United States and to say yes or no if the President's choice will be. Our political system is not nothing new. It's not nothing new anywhere. Y'all will not insult either of y'all because I understand politics. An old African principle is come to the father before you come to the family. Come to the family before you go to Africa. When I went to Africa, I wanted to know how I treat my family before any business take place. We have forgotten. We need to be reminded who we are, because that is the relationship that was built in our society, to be built on years ago. But in this particular case, confirmation of the presidential appointment is very, very important because it helps us to it takes power away from the president in terms of allowing us to be able to choose who we like to govern us. Also, setting the agenda and getting media attention. When it comes from VC, or comes from Barton, or comes from Woman Eddie Johnson, or comes from Kay Granger, or Congressman Dr. Kenny Merchant, or Dr. Michael Burns, Kenny Merchant, when these individuals come back to the region, they know us. We know the regional things that usually come on. They are familiar with the Metroplex. I doubt it. If I'll ever meet President Obama since he was a senator, I doubt it if I'll ever meet either one of the 16 candidates when they come. I doubt it if any of our children will ever meet people after they become President of the United States, because that's a job that usually held for a while. But your Congress people, it can be in office a long, 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 long time. And the last is certainly not least, media as well as impeachment and removal. To be able to impeach a president is not easy. It's very, very difficult. It can happen. To be able to remove a judge, to be a federal judge, is not easy, but not impossible. The power, everybody say power. The power. The power. The power. It belongs to the people, y'all. It always is and always will be. We choose who will govern us. We choose in America. It is not by lineage. It's not about who got the most money. It's not about who's close to God. It's not about who got the prettiest hair. It's not about, we choose who will govern us in America. We've just lost our way. But it creates opportunity for that opportunity. You are a conduit in time to set us back, just forgotten. So as a citizen, and when you raise your hand to become a citizen, if you're not already, we want to remember, we want to remind you how powerful it is to be a citizen of the United States of America. At the county level, and moving on to the county level, we have county commissioners. County commissioners have pretty cool jobs. They have pretty cool jobs, and they represent and I'm just doing, we have, in Dallas County, we have Dallas County Commission, we have Tarrant County, Denton County, Harris County, et cetera, et cetera. But if I may talk to you a little bit about our county commissioners in Tarrant County, Roy Brooks. Commissioner Brooks is a registered Democrat. He's been around. He comes from a very prominent family. They have a pretty good job of looking at the local roads. If you live outside of Tarrant County, you live like in Azle, or you live in Roanoke, or if you live outside the Tarrant County jurisdiction, even on the inside. But Commissioner Brooks is pretty cool about an individual you can meet with. Andy Wynn, he's elected as our first Asian American elected official in Tarrant County. He's a Republican. And so I remember when Andy first ran, he's a child of an immigrant who has children of immigrants, and so he's doing a lot of prominent things in order to help Asians, primarily from Vietnam, to be involved in the American political system. Glenn Ridley, he's a county judge, and so I'll outline what they do, but addresses, breaks the ties that sometimes they all have the same power, same responsibility, except for they have different jurisdictions. Gary Ficus, as well as J.D. Johnson, who deals with a little bit more south of northwest of our Tarrant County community. Their responsibilities for county commissioner, one of those functions is the budgetary. County budgets, they set the tax rate. They provide public facilities, such as for the jails. They maintain the county roads and the bridges. There are issues that we have. I think one of the things we talked about when we had, we call it Jerry World, the AT&T Stadium. It was the county who decided to put the first $1 million into creating infrastructure for which was very attractive for the Jones family to bring all of the AT&T Stadium, the Cowboy Stadium, and AT&T Stadium today into the Metroplex. They also administer and finance elections. The election process that I'll talk about later on, where the gist of it all comes from the county officials. The judge, as I talked about Glenn Witt, and I think I mentioned to him earlier on, he's the judge in the middle. He has a very powerful position. And one of the things that he gets to do, he gets to preside over the total commission of court. If he was in a rural area outside the country, it would be more so, he would have other judicial functions as well as other responsibilities with other agencies. And so it kind of depends on where in the county, what the county judge does, and he can do everything from be the coroner to make decisions on just how agencies need to run. But in this particular case, he basically becomes the tiebreaker for. He kind of manages and gives a voice to all the other commissioners. At this level, this is our Alton City Council member, our newly elected Jeff Williams, and those stars mean that these are at-large seats, which means that most people across the whole city will vote for them, and then if it's not, then these are individuals. But our new mayor is Jeff Williams. He comes in with Dr. Robert Clark, and they're up every 2 years. Next, Sherry Capehart is in District 2, which takes a little bit of central Arlington and a little bit of, not this part, but a little bit of other parts in that. She's been on the council for a while. My good friend, Councilman Robert Barrett, he's been in for a little bit. He's coming up on his 10th year. And so there are things going on with him in terms of, I think this is part of his region, if I'm correct. With Lana, Catherine Wildman, Michael Gillespie, Robert Shepard, and Jimmy Bennett, the three here. Michael, Robert, and Jimmy, they also are at-large seats. And so usually it's a citywide election. It depends on what seat they sit on. There it will be determined in odd years. We have an even year next year in 2016. Usually the odd seats come up for election during that particular time, and they do vote. Usually the election held in May, unless it was run off, and then they may go as far as late June. And then the last one is Charlie Parker. That was not meant to be that's a single member district seat. That is not an at-large seat, so that's my apology on that, but that usually covers North Arlington. Their responsibility for that, the local part, they do usually what we call, each city has laws that is built in our Texas Constitution. Even from some things, our Constitution was set up almost as close as the federal Constitution. They say, who's your state representative? And most people think they're talking about their state senator, their U.S. representative. They say, who's your state senator, state representative, and most people think you're talking about the U.S. representative. But our Constitution our Texas Constitution was set up almost exactly like our U.S. Constitution. One of the things is general law cities, and those are people, they have what is called a charter. And when you set up a city, usually those are residents that at least have a little bit over 200 and less than at least 250 resident. A home rule city are charters. They're what we call city charters. Our charter tells us that on an odd day, councilman 3, 5, 1, these are individuals and some of our at-large will come up with the election, which is the mayor. That's our city charter. There are some cities where their charter says everybody runs at the same time. Fort Worth is an example. When they're up for re-election, everybody from the mayor all the way to the 9th seat or the seat 9 is up. That's a good thing and not a good thing. And the good thing is that if everyone wants, if the citizens want to get rid of everybody from the mayor on down to seat 9, they're gone. New people can come in and represent Fort Worth City Council. They're not so good if they're not experienced, there's not a relationship with city staff, they don't really know the district that well, their teeth have not been cut in terms of being able to govern for a long time. It's still kind of confused, it's going to take them a while, that cannot be so good. With this home rule city, with these particular charters, like we have 2, 4, 6, and 8 that are up next year, it gives you an opportunity that if you lose, we have a new mayor in, but there are enough people that's on the city council that can kind of work with the mayor, they kind of know the history, they can kind of guide the new mayor in. They all carry the same responsibility. In this scenario, in this chart, Houston, San Antonio, they're not like that. The governor, the mayor, is like the big honcho. They're like the city manager. They hire and fire city staff. It's a powerful position in something. Not in Arlington, not in Mansfield, not in Fort Worth and Dallas. The students and the citizens would have to vote up there with that much power if you don't know them. You would not want to give power to people that you don't know and how they act with power. I would warn you. I warn you to do that. If you ever get in the electoral process, I get to know them, what they are. I bring a principle from the diaspora to America, and I talk about it. I would say, hey, see how you govern first, and we'll see if we'll give you a little bit more power. Just give me something from this. But mayor is the equal to all the council. They're all equal, other than the mayor in our city and other cities. They just, when there are times where the meeting needs to be conducted and who is recognized, the mayor has that power. And looking at the home city, you have approximately 350 people or more. To be a home rule city, you have to at least have 5,000 residents or more. Special powers, which comes from our 1920s, which was a 1920s election, which we call it happening for some history above. That's a progressive ideology that came early on in the early 1900s, 1920s, where states and federal government, there was a disconnect between the people and the federal government, because it's unlikely that you'll be meeting local, federal people. The U.S. Senator or U.S. Congressman, and so there needed to be a connection, and so there are initiatives that was brought into that particular time, and we call those, there were special powers, and one of them is the citizen gets to recall an election, and it allows us to, if we don't think that there are some not so good things that happen, there's some hanky-panky going on with this election process, and we need to recall this Jeff Williams election. Something didn't seem right with that. It seemed like there were some people looking at, and I'm just using that as that was the most recent one. Looks like there were some people that was elected, and they voted for them, but I think they've been deceased for at least 10 years. Now, we get to challenge that. Also, the initiative. It allows from the cameras, these cameras that we have, and hopefully none of you are driving, down that we don't have the cameras. Hopefully you're not running those red lights out there now. Don't be running red lights out there. But it took a lot when those cameras were in, now they're out, and hopefully people are still not trying to run those red lights, but that was an initiative to recall that particular law, and then a referendum allows to repeal certain laws, from texting to you have an auditor of the city, you don't text and drive. If you're texting and driving, you want to be texting and driving, but if you get, you have young people in your house, and they like, they're trying to adopt some American way. They're not bad. They just, most young people text and drive, which is not a good thing. And so, but we do have a law in most cities about texting and driving. And so, but that law, any other law in the state, can be repealed, because that is now a constitutional right, to say, hey, I want to put if the city laws want to outlaw radishes, let's say you want to eat radishes, or, I think Dr. Summer used broccoli. We can have a law against eating broccoli in Texas. We don't have to eat broccoli. We outlaw broccoli. We can do that. It's no constitutional right to eat broccoli in Texas. Okay? And so, but there are referendums at the levels, federal, state, local level, where you can repeal certain laws. A strong mayor, I think the example that I was using, the strong mayor council is real popular in some cities like Houston and El Paso. The mayor has appointed power, removal power, budgetary power, veto authority. When we have a weak mayor, the mayor is co-equal in our city. In Mansfield, Hearst, Bedford, that's what HEB stands for, in Arlington. And then our council, mayor of government, which is Fort Worth, where the council is the council, city manager. The council is the policy maker, and the city manager administers the policy set forth by the council. The council, the city manager, actually, police chief, that's the boss will be the chief of police, chief of police, the chief of the fire department, chief answers to the city manager. That's a powerful position, but it's also a political position as well. And so, Fort Worth and Dallas have that. It's real popular. A lot of cities like that. If you go to Chicago, if you go to New York, if you go to other places, I don't want to go into a whole lot of Texas history because I got enough of my Texas history government students here. But it goes way, way back to the founding of our country, to the founding of our state, approximately 136 years ago. And so that's a whole different lecture. But and then of course, last but not least, I would hope and encourage you to get on, sit on boards and commissions. I was very fortunate to sit on the zoning board of adjustment with the commissioner. They're not in Homeland City, but they help us to understand from our library boards to our city plan commission to our, I think we have a human relations commission, but we have a national commission. And so if you are interested in getting involved in just how it all works, I would encourage you, and if you have some young people in your life, to get involved with being involved in our city, our boards and commissions for the city of Arlington, or whatever you reside. But if all of this confused, well, I didn't write any of this stuff down, I'm still confused, I don't know what's going on. I have a website, this basically, if you click on this particular link, and once you click on this particular link, well, who represents me, you put your address in, 123 Sesame Street, if that's to use that example, then you can, it'll tell you who represents you at the congressional level, the federal level, it'll tell you who represents you locally, and also tells you who represents you on the school board, as well as on the State Board of Education. And so this was an excellent opportunity for me to let you know these are the kind of assignments that I give my college and university students to look at, because I've always believed that all the information education you get is together. If you don't know who you elected, you're responsible for it. And I believe that takes care of that part on that takes care of that part on the local level.
Address to you.
I have the election part that I have not done yet. If that's going to be on the election, because it's actually a two-part, but the first one is local. Yes, sir. Yes, sir, Mark.
Wanted to ask about the funding of these institutions. If you could, I know the federal government is funded by income taxes and that sort, but at a commission level and the city level, can you explain how it works? And they're not interdependent. that means the money doesn't flow from Washington to the other entities, right? It's all independent, right?
There's a fancy word that we use in academia. We call it devolution, which is the federal people fund because of how the person, in terms of dealing with anything from crime prevention, I think maybe possibly that's a good question at the police department level that you can ask for when you're dealing with crime, and how Congressman Vesey or Congressman Barton can help at the federal level, help the local police departments deal with some of the problems that they have. For the academic institution, of course, from financial aid to selective services to all a menagerie of different things, then yeah, it also works. The more money we ask from Washington, the more complex it can be with respect to policies that they can implement for everyone. For example, let's say Congressman funded, Matlock Street, and you don't want people who are gay, or you don't want people who are Christian, or you want people who are Muslim, or you want people who are Bugandans or Ethiopians to drive down the street. Because it's a federal policy, and usually it will embody everybody, then it would probably be not wide, because it did not come from the taxpayer. And that's probably a very poor example. But looking at that, when you look at things on a macro scale, very, very large scale, when you're asking money from the federal government, then you have to abide by the laws and policies and procedures, because that's what's funded. Local people, it's a local road, this is a road, some of y'all look like y'all live in some pretty nice houses, you have your own streets, and you named it after you. But it's your street, you paid for it, you paved it, you shut it down whenever you want to, but you paid for that little one stretch of road. And that, even if it's outside the county, that's your street, it's your road. And it's not under those guidelines, but you have to maintain it and so on. So that's a very good question, Marco, that you asked me, sir. Yes, sir.
My name is Dominique Diomi, and I'm presidential candidate for the upcoming elections within the Congolese community of DFW.
God bless you, brother. What presidential for who?
The Congolese community of Dallas. It's actually happening in a couple of weeks. My question is in regard to organizations such as ours. The Congolese community of Dallas has been established for almost 30 years within the DFW Metroplex. And I would like to know where groupment of people like ours fit in this whole dynamic that you just described earlier.
That is a magnificent question you asked me. He asked me, how do y'all fit? I don't even know. Sometimes in my mind, y'all have to apologize. Sometimes when y'all ask me questions, are you flexing my knowledge to see really what I know? Because I know some stuff, okay? Or you just want to kind of already know the answer. Now, if you already know the answer, I can help you a lot with that, and then I can talk to you later on about that, when I let the individual, let some of these esteemed members break, and I can talk to you about that private, just kind of help you if you're doing recruitment. And so, but if you really want to know, how do y'all fit in? Y'all family. Y'all come into an American family. Y'all bring something. Y'all bring a lot of different things. But like any other society, you have to work at it. You have to work at it. And I think you running as a presidential candidate, people need to know who you are. That's a lot of houses you got to knock on doors. There's a lot of talking. It's a lot of relationship building. But it is like anything else. It is very challenging. And so if the stuff that I talked about, if you're confused, it's okay. It's okay. Because it's a lot to know, and trying to learn it in 30 minutes, 20, 45 minutes is a lot. And I appreciate y'all staying awake through it. However, when you're talking about getting people engaged, it's been almost one generation of trying to keep people involved and energetic about politics. And usually it's the 3 A's that I talk about. And one of the things that people are very apathetic about politics today. It's always the same. They don't see anything changing. Some alienated. It's not my country. I ain't trying to do nothing. I just want to make my money, go on. I'm going to vote straight Democrat. I'm going to vote straight Republican. And then the last A is absent. I ain't going today. It's a local election, I ain't got time. I got soccer to go to. I got to do this. I got to do that. Those are usually the big 3A. I know this. But people take advantage of those things. And so there have been too many have died for us to have a right that you're sitting here listening to today. And I've just been fortunate to be blessed to know that the price has been paid. And it's a large debt to be paid for us to have that right to be able to cast a ballot and choose who will govern us. That's a very, very important position to know. And we need to pass it on to our children and our grandchildren. So I don't know if I asked you that, sir, but I'll be more than happy to entertain that question later on. But if it's challenging for you, that's about right. And if you're working, if you ain't working from sun up to sundown and the soles of your feet ain't worn out, you ain't done nothing yet. If you don't know every last one of these people in here, you don't know their kids, you ain't done nothing. That's truth. That is truth. And the scars on my political back have been earned. I've not always been an academic, but I've walked and I know what the cries of Americans are today. And we need people that are engaged in politics and know what's going on. And I don't mean to get off on it, but I appreciate you for what you said. That's a magnificent question. And I hope you win, sir. Really. Who's running against you? You can't win. Okay. I'm sorry. I can't go out. No, I'm on my side. This was not an endorsement for this gentleman. No, I ain't endorsing nobody. But I want to see how much how much you're running. Yes, sir. So this gentleman, so you're running against him.
Yeah, there are two other candidates.
Oh, are they in here too? Oh, well, you know we ain't going to, okay, I'm not. Yeah, go ahead, sir. Let me, what is your question, sir?
I don't have actually a question, but...
You got to ask, you got to ask a question. You have to ask a policy question.
Actually, I'll be more than happy if he wins because I tried with him anyway.
Oh, my God. You ain't been American long enough, man. You don't get years to it, man. I tell you, man. Alexander Hamilton once said, if men were angels, we would need no government. Oh, God, just pick it up. All right, give them something to earn it. Make them earn it. Y'all make him earn it. Make him know who you are. Call him. If he don't call you back, I'm picking on him now, but he needs to be picked on. If he don't call you back, he thinks he's a big shot, you need to find somebody else. That's usually the first sign. If they'll call you back and they'll remember your name. And sometimes they'll ask how your kids are doing. Sometimes they'll know what's going on. Oh, I remember you. You're the one that almost fell asleep in my legs. Oh, I remember you. Remember that back then. It's a good time. Politics is a skill. It's a style. It's getting people to come and connect it with. You have to be good at that. You have to know people. You have to feel like, get down here with you. Sit down here next to you. Talk to you. Say, what's going on, brothers and sisters? You gotta be able, you gotta have style for knowledge. You gotta be able to tie yourself bow tie. You gotta be clean, you know how to speak well, and make people in the room feel like they're important. Even if they're not. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm ready. But that's what I do, kingmaker. So anyway, not enough of that. I'll take one more question. I think it's almost break time. I think it's almost break time. I got one more question. I'm sorry, Dr. Kassan. I'm taking one more question. I gave some trade secrets out. I'll tell you what. I didn't have a copyright on that one this call.
You already went over what was the big 3A's again?
I'm sorry, what was that, sir?
The 3A's.
The 3A's usually are what's called absentee. It's called apathy. People just apathetic. You know, you come and you don't see any changes. They understand. You know, people just don't see changes. You change one government to another, one time to another. It's been around a long time. And then the second one is absenteeism. People just, alienated. People don't believe it. You know, they hyphenate Americans. You know, Asian American, African American, Mexican American. We call them I call them hyphenated American. It's a book that comes out called The Hyphenated American around the 1990s. But you know, we're more hyphenated than we are American, but that's a whole other story. And then the last one is absentee. You know, people just don't want to do it today. You know, they don't want to come to run off and so on and so on.